Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with Thai-inspired potato salad. That's right, you think you've had every potato salad there is to have. And then someone like me posts something like this. And because you like Thai food so much, this new and exciting version becomes your favorite potato salad. Or at least that's how I hope this all plays out. And to get started, the first thing we'll do is prep our Yukon Gold potatoes, which I think is the best choice, but feel free to use another type if you want. And always take your time cutting the first potato, because whatever size you cut these pieces into, you're going to be committed to doing all your other potatoes the same way, so they cook at the same rate. And because I decided cutting my first potato into 8 pieces was the way to go, that's how I did the other 5. And then once we have those cut in a saucepan, we will top that with some nice cold fresh water. And we'll place those on medium-high heat and bring them up to a simmer. And while we're waiting, we'll go ahead and add some salt, plus a spoon of ground coriander, which, by the way, fun fact, is made from the seeds of the plant we call cilantro. And then we'll also do a little bit of turmeric, plus a pinch of baking soda, which is in here mostly for the roasting step. And you'll see what happens with that in a little bit. But for now, after we give that a stir, we will simply wait for it to start simmering. And then we'll back our heat down to medium, and we will cook these until they're just barely tender. Okay, we should be able to slide a knife in, but these should not under any circumstances be falling apart. Since, as I mentioned, we are going to roast these before we make a salad with them. So ever so slightly undercooked would be better than overcooked. And once we determine those are perfect, we will pull them off the heat and drain them very well, as in let them sit in the strainer for about 5 or 10 minutes. At which point we'll transfer those onto a foil-lined pan that we've generously brushed with vegetable oil, and we will arrange those with the skin side down. And then we could, if we want, move on to the roasting step. But what I like to do is let these cool all the way down, and then cover them with plastic, and then pop them in the fridge until they're well chilled, since a cold potato always roasts up crispier than a warm potato. So you don't have to, but that's what I did. And once chilled, we'll pull off the plastic, and we'll apply a generous brushing of oil over the top, followed by a nice sprinkle of salt. And even though it's very subtle, these potatoes are now lightly scented with that coriander and that turmeric, which has also produced a gorgeous color. Oh, and we often put a little bit of baking soda in potatoes when we boil them if we're going to roast them, since it helps them come out crispier, which is not that important here because we're going to toss these in a dressing. But it also helps them brown up nicer, and some say taste better, at least according to people who know things. And that's it. Once those have been oiled and seasoned, we will pop those into the center of a 475-degree oven for about 35 minutes, or until they're beautifully browned and crusty. And no, I do not flip these over while they cook. All right, I want the skin side in contact with that hot pan the whole time, since if I am going to include potato skins in a potato salad, I want that skin as crispy and crusty as possible. And then what we'll do is let these cool down, somewhere between just barely warm and room temp. And while we're waiting, we should have plenty of time to prep our other ingredients, as well as whip up our dressing, which we will start with our aromatics, in the form of minced or crushed garlic, some finely grated fresh ginger, as well as a little bit of minced shallot, a very popular ingredient in Thai restaurants, but any kind of onion will work. And then for our sour elements, we'll do some rice vinegar, as well as the juice of 1 large lime. And then we'll finish up our tangy trio with some tamarind paste, which is fairly easy to find in the Asian food section. And it's extremely sour, so a little bit goes a long way. But it also has a little bit of this raisiny sweetness to it. And if you like pad thai, you like tamarind, since that's one of the main components. And then we'll also definitely need some Asian fish sauce for its beautiful super savory saltiness and hint of funkiness. And then we'll follow that with some freshly ground black pepper, as well as some brown sugar to balance things out. And then we'll finish up with a little bit of vegetable oil, as well as a generous squirt of sriracha. And that's it. We'll take a whisk and give this a thorough mix, creating one of the most flavorful dressings you will ever taste in your life. And by the way, don't be scared if you taste this on your finger and it tastes too intense. Okay, it's going to be perfect once it's coating all the other ingredients. Speaking of which, once our potatoes have cooled down to, like I said, somewhere between barely warm and room temp, we'll go ahead and add those to a large, very experienced mixing bowl. And we'll be sure to transfer in all that fragrant oil from the pan, Right? Not technically accumulated juices, but the same idea. Why would you throw that away? And then besides our potatoes, we will add some thinly sliced red onion, as well as some thinly sliced red bell pepper, which are sweet and mild. So I think we also want to do something with a little bit of heat, which is why I'm going to add some sliced jalapeno as well. And if you really want to hurt people, you can try to find some Thai bird chilies and mince up some of those and toss them in. But please be careful. And then we'll finish up with some chopped up roasted peanuts, as well as what I think is maybe the most important ingredient in a Thai salad, a ton of freshly torn herbs. And I'm using cilantro, basil, and mint. And yes, I said torn, not chopped. Or if you tear it, it will taste and look better. And that's it. We'll dump our dressing in and give this a very thorough mixing before we transfer everything onto a plate or serving platter. And if you're wondering why we didn't toss the potatoes with the dressing ahead of time, so it could soak in before we added the other ingredients, is because I tried that, and it was actually better this way. Right, this dressing is so strong and powerful, I think it's better if we toss everything right before we serve. But of course, feel free to experiment, but this is how I decided was the best way to go. Okay, it really was surprising how fast the potatoes absorbed the dressing. And then once we have everything tossed and plated, I finished up with some more fresh herb, plus a little more of our fresh veggies. And then last but not least, one last sprinkling of chopped peanut. And by the way, you could also top this with things like fried shallot, or some green onions, or even some protein like grilled shrimp or chicken. So of course, feel free to experiment. I mean, you are, after all, the Chez Pim, of what should go in. And speaking of food bloggers who were famous 10 years ago, once garnished, I took my contractually obligated pictures before I grabbed a fork to go in for the official taste. And that, my friends, is one of the most exciting, most flavorful, most interesting, and amazing bites of potato salad you will ever have. And I haven't even really gotten into the salad yet. But just the crusty potato alone, dunked into this dressing, is just fantastic. And I know we do have a lot of dressing, but that's not a problem. It will continue to soak into the potatoes. And as the wise man once said, there is no too much, there is only not enough. But of course, for the full effect, you're going to want to try to get a forkful of everything. And when you do, you'll be able to appreciate all the contrasts here, with not just the textures and the temperatures, but the flavor profile here literally has everything. Right, we got sweet, we got sour, we got salty, we got spicy. And thanks to that hint of fish sauce, and the fact we took the time to roast the potatoes, this is super savory as well. And as I was enjoying this, I could not think of anything I'd rather be eating. And sure, some Thai food fundamentalists might say this is bad Thai. But to me, even bad Thai is good Thai, and certainly better than no Thai. And we are in no way trying to make anything authentic. We're just trying to make something interesting and incredibly delicious to eat, inspired by some of our favorite flavors from the Thai restaurant. And you know what? I think we did. And if you're a fan of Thai food, and you like potato salads in general, I think this is an absolute must-try, which is why I really do hope you give this a try soon. So please follow the links below for the ingredient amounts, a printable written recipe, and much more info as usual. And as always, enjoy.